Until the early 1990s, much of this scientifically advanced work was done by the Foreign Technology Division, or FTD, which many researchers believe is the key to understanding Wright-Patterson's role in UFO history.
The Foreign Technology Division was the Air Force unit that was responsible for scientific and technical intelligence as it applied to the air and space and missile capability of mainly the Soviet Union. They were there to prevent technological surprise. They were the experts in the bad guys' equipment.
Wright-Patterson has a history of duplicating Russian equipment, German equipment, and reverse engineering it. Why would they not do the same thing with extraterrestrial technology? And so there's no question in my mind that's exactly what we're doing.
Coming up, a second major UFO recovery and a second secret trip to Hangar 18.
He saw two bodies through the porthole slumped over.
March 25th, 1948, Aztec, New Mexico. What starts as a normal day for local oil workers turns into an encounter with the unknown. As they approach the western edge of the mesa, a large silver object grabs their attention.
When the oil workers got to the mesa, there was a disc approximately 100 feet in diameter.
Because the ship is found intact, it appears to be a landing as opposed to a crash.
The witnesses I talked to, both Ken Farley and Doug Nolan, young men at the time, would not enter the craft. Bill Ferguson, the foreman, more senior gentleman, was yelling at the workers to get away from it.
Except for a shattered porthole, there isn't any immediate sign of damage.
Doug Nolan reported to me he saw two bodies through the porthole slumped over.
Within hours, trucks arrive, supposedly from Camp Hale, Colorado. It appears the U.S. government has another UFO incident to contend with. Having learned from their mistakes at Roswell, the Army quickly takes control of the situation.
Roswell 9 months earlier had been sort of botched by putting it on the front page of many newspapers around the country. I think the military had really fine-tuned their skills on going in and retrieving a down-flying disc or UFO. The secrecy started immediately upon the military's arrival at the crash site. They separated the locals and reminded them of their patriotic duty for the United States and swore them to secrecy.
58 years ago, you were told to shut up for national security. You did it because you respected and trusted the government.
The military wanted that craft immediately, and they would do whatever it took to get it out of there.
According to the eyewitnesses, the Army recovers between 14 and 16 badly burned alien bodies from the craft. The recovery team reportedly brings both the ship and the alien corpses to a local safe house, away from the media.
Take it to the nearest military base where you can control access to it. And then you arrange to ship it to an appropriate place, depending on what you want done. But again, Wright-Patterson would be the eventual repository.
Because of the number of alien bodies at Aztec, it is considered one of the most significant UFO retrievals to date. But UFO researchers say there are many other cases tied to Wright Field. October 1947, Paradise Valley, Arizona. May 1953, Kingman, Arizona. June 1953, Laredo, Texas. and December 5th, 1965, Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, are only a few of the alleged flying saucer recoveries in the U.S. alone. No matter where a UFO lands, it seems all roads lead back to Wright-Patterson and Hangar 18.
Wright-Pat was kind of a graveyard for some of these things, and probably put them in a holding pattern until technology got to where they could look at them better.
But despite countless books and the public interest in UFOs, there was no official confirmation about alien aircraft at Hangar 18. Eventually, attention shifted away from Wright-Patterson. Interest was revived, however, in 1978, when UFO researcher Leonard Stringfield gave a speech at the annual Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON Symposium, coincidentally held in Dayton, Ohio, Wright-Patterson's home.
Len was doing things in this field that nobody else had done. He actually had developed a number of people that were leaking information to him. They were given testimony on things that they had seen and done. Not just one person, but a whole entourage of people that he developed a trust where people knew they could trust him, and he wouldn't expose them, and they could give him the information, and he could correlate it with others and determine what's real and what isn't.
Stringfield wrote several books on the subject of UFO crashes and their retrievals. Because of the secrecy involved, many of his sources didn't want their full names published for fear of losing their top-secret government jobs. Among the stories of wreckage being stored at Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson was a tale about a Navy pilot identified only as PJ, who, along with several others, accidentally entered a restricted hangar.
For a brief 30 seconds, a disc-shaped object of metallic color, 15 feet wide and 8 feet deep, was seen. I cannot confirm anything other than it was there.
According to Stringfield's research, they were confronted by the guards and quickly escorted out of the hangar.
Once outside, we had reassured each other that the good old U.S. had developed, or had all along, flying saucers in service.
As these stories started surfacing, other witnesses came forward. UFO researcher and Aberdeen, Washington police detective James Clarkson located June Crane, a former employee of Wright-Patterson from the Roswell era. She agreed to sit down with him for an audio interview in 1997, and Clarkson has consented to allow the History Channel to air this interview for the first time on television. Crane's story dates back to the early 1950s. According to the documents she supplied to Clarkson, she was a clerk typist with access to top-secret information. One afternoon, a lieutenant surprised her with a piece of unusual metal.
And he threw it on my desk, and he says, "June, you're a good wrecker. Tear that thing apart. Break that up." And I took it, and I bent it, and I twisted it, and I laid it back down, and it got right back to the same shape.
So it's fairly thick, but it doesn't weigh anything.
But it had no weight at all. It was like a feather. I said, "Well, what is it?" And he says, "Piece of a spaceship." He said, "I just come back from New Mexico, and I brought it with me."